What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, make sure to support by smashing that subscribe button. We are just 10 subscribers away from hitting the first 100 mark here on the new channel. We appreciate each and every one of you that tap in here with us on the morning show. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my left, my faithful co-host, Scotty. New setup, another day, Scotty, but we're fighting through it, man. Sixers lose in Brooklyn last night in pretty ugly fashion to the Nets, 112 to 107. We're going to talk about that one. They're on the second half of the back-to-back tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll get into that as well. And we're also going to have a fun little conversation when it comes to our Phillies, man. Some over-under projections to go over, player projections, season expectations, just as opening day is a few short weeks away. But my man, happy Wednesday, and what's going on?
Yes, sir. Happy Wednesday, man. You mentioned the new setup, but we did promise we would be here. So we're here. Marshawn Lynch, if you're out there, great to see you this morning. But we made sure we are here even after a very tough Sixers L last night, a very annoying Sixers L last night. So just showing some good faith here. We are here to stay. In the Faithful Fanatic, man. And it's going to be a fun episode, man. Anytime we can get into projections, expectations, any type of, looking ahead into a season and what's going to happen. I think that's always fun with Philly teams. Just to see where we're at mentally, man. We're coming off another heartbreak season of the fighting Phillies in the postseason, right? Mm-hmm. The first going into last year, we were coming off the World Series loss to the Astros. This year, we're coming off an even kind of a bigger heartbreak in a sense when you look at what was left on the table as far as the teams that were still in play last season and going out in the NL Championship Series to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So very motivated, very highly intense as we approach this Phillies season. And I think it's good. We'll get into the conversation later, but I think it's good to go into the regular season with that intensity and start the season with that intensity rather than wait until July and August for us to get into it. Like, obviously there's downtime during an MLB season with 162 games, but let's get fired up, man. It's time for the fight-ins, and I'm getting excited for it, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the Phillies clubhouse as a whole kind of has that same mindset, that same aggressive mindset that they left food on the table, that there is a job, a job unfinished that they have to get back to. And I think that's the perfect mindset to have coming into this season. You and I are kind of going to discuss why in terms of regular season later on in the show. But yes, the Cookie Man did strike again last night, Scotty. The Sixers, like we said, very bad loss last night. I get it. Tyrese Maxey yesterday afternoon after the show, it kind of comes out that he is having concussion-like symptoms, I guess, from that head bang on Sunday that he was able to come back from in Dallas, confused how they handle that situation and what's going on now. But he was out last night. Obviously, still no Joel Embiid. You have no DeAnthony Melton. You're still missing Robert Covington. So we know how depleted this team is. Trust me, nobody knows and understands how depleted this Sixers team is more than me. I've been the one begging for people to calm down and relax on a nightly basis. But last night was not the night to kind of sit back and just go, this one's okay. This one doesn't matter. I mean, I see a lot of comments, man, about this Sixers roster that was out there on the floor last night. And with these injuries, missing the MVP, missing your top two players, missing another starting guard, I understand. But what was across the floor from you?
Yeah.
A roster that isn't much better, even if you're missing all of those guys. Led by Mikal Bridges. After that, you're looking at guys like Nicholas Claxton and Lonnie Walker and Dennis Smith Jr. and Cam Johnson. Like, what are we doing here that last night was the game for excuses? And I'll come out and I'll say it, and I know you tweeted it and this morning, and for some reason you're getting pushback on this. And I'm not here to crush him. I've been the one guy that said, what do you want this man to do throughout this season without him beating out and without these guys healthy and available for him? But again, in terms of last night against this Brooklyn Nets team, Nick Nurse had a bad night. Let's just call it what it is. It was a bad night.
The best way to put it.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. I'm not here to crush him. I'm not here to put his head on a stick, right? And that we don't trust Nick Nurse moving forward anymore. But he had a bad night. You and I were discussing it. Listen, not to say this wins you the game. But what in the hell did Jeff Doughton Jr. get 6-7 minutes of run for last night?
Why?
Where was Ricky Council? Just a DNP. Just was sitting on the bench, hyping his teammates up in warm-ups. Nothing. Doesn't play. Buddy Hield. I don't even know if he stepped on the floor in the entire fourth quarter. You needed buckets down the stretch. You were struggling offensively. And the 43 plus 3-point percent shooter is sitting, wasting away on your bench. Even when he's on the floor, you're drawing up looks for Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre Jr. to get pinned down screens and open in the corner for jumpers, but you're not running anything for Buddy Hield. Nicholas Batum, like you said, I love Nico Batum.
I love Batum, man.
He's a perfect fit, a perfect role player here. Played too much last night.
32 minutes.
I get it. You're lacking wings. Well, then where was Ricky Council?
Yeah.
Again, we come full circle. Where was the athleticism, the young legs?
You had Oubre playing 36 minutes, man. Oubre had a great night last night. I'm not taking anything away from him. 36 minutes? Like Ricky Council can't touch the floor for like 4 minutes. Like that, like he can't touch the floor. And that's my worry here. And maybe it's not Nick Nurse for that type of stuff. Maybe it's basketball politics and, you know, the guaranteed contract that would come with Ricky Council and the way he was playing while he was in the rotation and actually playing. But it's baffling at times. And I think that's the biggest thing. I woke up this morning and it almost forces me to be like in this bucket of like Nick Nurse hater. And I'm not. Like, I wanted Nick Nurse as the head coach. I still do. I'm still confident in what Nick Nurse can do with this team, especially when they get Embiid and get a Maxey back, right? Like not having both of those guys, I understand that. And if you said going into the game last night that you don't think the Sixers are going to win, you don't think the Sixers really, you know, have a good chance against Brooklyn, you could say that Mikal Bridges is the best player on the court if you want to say that, right? Like you can say all of that, and that's fine going into the game. But don't sit here and tell me that you watched the game last night and you came away with yeah, exactly. Like we can sit here before and go into things like that and say things like that. But when you sit down and watch the game, you watch a point in the game where the Sixers are up by 15 double-digit points in this game, right? And they just let it slip away to Dennis Schroeder, 20 points, Nick Claxton, 17 points. I mean, Mikal Bridges didn't even go off. He had 15 points. So it's like I'm not trying to just sit here and throw Nick Nurse under the bus, but we can call it what it is. It was a bad game by Nick Nurse. It was a game, maybe, you know, you're undermanned. I get it. But my thing is, if that's the case, then tonight against Memphis, right, on the tail end of a back-to-back, don't even fucking suit up because Embiid and Maxey won't be there, right? Like, if you can't get W's against these guys at the bottom of the standings, we're not going to stay afloat. And that's the big thing for me. It's not to pin Nick Nurse to the cross. It's not to, you know, bring out the pitchforks. It's not even to compare him to Doc Rivers. It's not. It's just to say we brought Nick Nurse in here to make a difference and just go out there and win us one game without Embiid and Maxey. And maybe that game's tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies, who are an even worse team than the Brooklyn Nets, who are missing even more pieces than the 76ers, right? Maybe that's the case, but my biggest thing, man, we can analyze these games. We can criticize game by game, right? Starts in the first quarter. Sure, Kelly Oubre made me eat my words. I tweeted out Oubre off to a horrible start. Does that make me wrong that he was off to a horrible start? No. He had a great game. You can say that too. That's the thing right now. It's become like, it's like this generation. It's not just basketball, but this generation of like being like, I don't know if soft is the right word, but it's like this overprotective like defense for like certain people, certain beings, certain eras, certain times in a season where we just have to put up this brick wall and defend. No, you can look at the game last night and say, yeah, maybe going into the game, we don't think the Sixers could have won. But when we left the game, we can say that the Sixers should have won.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing for me. We can hold these guys accountable. It's not the end of the world. And you know what I mean? Like, it's annoying.
I'm glad you put it that way, man, because honestly, I was just going to come on here this morning, talk with you about how Nick Nurse could have been better doing this. He could have played Ricky Council, and it's okay, and we would have moved on. And then for some reason, I go on social media this morning, and there's legitimate pushback, not from just like hoop heads or like random people that aren't paying attention, but like to other Sixers fans. And this is where the fan base, I love our fan base. I wish all of them were in the comments interacting with us right now and have this conversation. But this is where they annoyed the hell out of me at times. Like what I'm not, my whole thing is why last night, to your point, why to that team when they were winning by double digits, with the mistakes that were made, when they dropped officially into play-in territory now, because other losses hadn't dropped them there yet, but last night officially did put them in the 7th seed. Why last night is this the excuse? Is this the this is the pass? I'm so confused by this. Against Milwaukee, against Boston in Boston, with no Joel Embiid and no DeAnthony Melton and no this and no that, people want Nick Nurse's head on a stick. Those are the games they want him to go win. But against the Brooklyn Nets, when they have a double-digit lead, that one's okay. What are we doing? Those are the games. The games against Giannis, against Tatum and Jaylen Brown, those are the games you go, okay, what the hell do you want this guy to do tonight? Last night's not that night.
Agreed, man. And if you're a head coach, and I'm not saying Nick Nurse is this head coach, but if you're a head coach that is only supposed to win games when Embiid and Maxey suit up,
right?
Then what are we doing here?
That's not in your job description.
That's not okay.
It makes your life 1,000,000% harder. Duh. Like Denver, right? Like if Jokic and Jamal Murray were missing, would it be easier for Malone to go out there and get wins?
No.
Doc in Milwaukee now, they're playing pretty well now, right? If Giannis and Dame are missing, is it easy for him to go get wins? No. And to your point, all right, you lost last night. Maybe he goes out and gets a win tonight without both of them, and we kind of, all right, 1-1 without both of them. You can't really complain. But in the moment, you're allowed to analyze, you're allowed to look at it, and no one was going to come on here and overreact.
Right.
Like, that's the funny thing. People are like gatekeeping last night's game as if we were going to overreact or you're over. All I said was Nick Nurse didn't have a good game.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like we've gotten lost in this expectations thing, right? Like of an entire season where we were just looking at last night's game. Like we are pigeonholing last night's game and looking.
We're going to talk Phillies
specifically.
We're going to talk Phillies soon. That is a marathon of a year, right?
Yeah.
I back Rob Thompson. You back Rob Thompson 95% of the time. But are there or are there not going to be nights where Rob Thompson pulls Aaron Nola too early or pulls Zach Wheeler too early and then mismanages the bullpen and the Phillies bullpen blows a 3-0 lead and we're going to come on the morning show and say Rob Thompson managed a bad game last night? And that's okay.
It's okay.
That's all right.
That was my biggest point this morning with the whole conversation.
Then you're going to have people on other nights where Rob Thompson really doesn't do anything wrong and they're going to rip him for losing a game. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's my whole point, man. It became the last 13 minutes have become less about Nick Nurse and what went wrong in last night's game and more about what are we doing here as a society, as a Philadelphia fan base, where we're going back and forth with each other in the wrong moments. I gotta defend Nick Nurse on a Tuesday in Boston without Joel Embiid and four other players because they lose that game. And now I'm on the wrong side of things when they blow a double-digit lead to the Brooklyn freaking Nets.
But it makes me feel crazy, man. It does.
That is the point. It makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong here. Like, what am I missing? And then it's like, no.
Like, am I taking the game against Brooklyn last night too serious? Like, am I? They're in the 7th seed now. They're in the play-in tournament. They're one game up on the Indiana Pacers,
which
right?
was the thing we did not want. It's the one thing we wanted to avoid this whole Joel Embiid injury was staying out there. Now, again, you still got a month of ball left. That's not to say they're stuck in the 7th seed. But now you're here. You were never here. You were 4th, you were 5th, you were 6th.
And this comes with pressure now.
Right.
This comes with pressure now.
Because guess what, Scotty? Miami was what? Once upon a time, Miami was like 5.5 games behind us. It was like 2 weeks ago.
Now they got the same record.
They're already soaring.
They're 8-2 in their last 10. Yeah, you're exactly right. And tonight becomes, is it a must-win game? Like on a tail end of a back-to-back, like I do get it, but it is against the Grizzlies at home.
Call it what it is. Yeah, like a
must-win game, right?
Like a must-win game in the sense that the world's over if they lose it and the season's over. No, so I guess
you really need this win.
It's hard to, but you do. When it circumstances. Again, I know Max is going to come back, but Embiid's not coming back for a little while. Right. D-Melt doesn't look like he's come back for a little while. Who the hell knows what's going on with your wing and Robert Covington still?
On the other side, Bane is out. Ja Morant's out. Marcus Smart's out. Zaire Williams out. Derrick Rose out.
It's about the level of competition. Yeah. Right? And we just talked about that with Brooklyn last night, where everyone's like, what do you want him to do with this roster? Look at the roster he was coaching against.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, man. Like their head coach got fired.
Now look tonight. Look at that roster at home in Philly. Look at the roster he's coaching against tonight.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter that Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are out of action tonight. They need to win.
They need W's.
That's the bottom line. Okay.
One last thing. Well, I don't know if you have anything else in the Sixers, but one last thing I have here, just a question for you. Buddy Hield, like what are you seeing? Like, is this just a Nick Nurse thing? Does Buddy Hield need like from my perspective, he needs to be more involved. Like, I think that is a Nick Nurse thing. I think he needs to try different things. I see him doing the same thing constantly throughout the game. It works at the beginning. The team makes adjustments, and Nick Nurse doesn't. Buddy Hield doesn't. Whatever the case may be. I do think part of it is Buddy Hield needs to be more aggressive himself as well.
I agree. I see him standing off kind of to the wing at times, not kind of moving, getting involved. Now, that could be just because maybe the play call is being ran to the other side of the floor. He's kind of that decoy standing off to the side to create spacing. We don't know, right? We don't know the ins and outs, but I agree. I think it's a combination of both. I see him kind of just standing there, not ready, not ready to shoot, not ready for anything at times, and then not even ready to get the ball, to be honest, because he doesn't think he's going to get it. And then also, like, it is a coach's job to draw, to scheme open guys, right? And to draw guys open. And when I watch him run a pin down or a screen to get Tobias Harris an open three, or to get Kelly Oubre open on the wing or the baseline, why aren't we doing these things for Buddy Hield?
Yeah.
That's my whole question. What happened to the first 5 games of Buddy Hield? Like, we are at a drastic drop-off. Not a slight drop-off. This wasn't Joel Embiid came back and Buddy Hield's just getting less shots because Embiid's the focal point of the offense. This is a couple random guys came back into the rotation, and Buddy Hield's kind of just being just outcasted from the offense. I mean, Scotty, the man took 3 threes last night.
Yeah, that's a problem.
3 threes. In a
game that's a problem.
Lost. In a game you lost. If you win the game, whatever, I can live with it. I can live with it. You won the game. It doesn't matter about stats. Doesn't matter about anything. You lost the ball game, and one of the top 2 or 3 3-point shooters in the world in this league had 3 attempts. By the way, he made 2 of them.
And you don't have Maxey.
Newsflash, made 2 of them.
Yeah, 2 of 3.
What are you doing, man? Yeah, he was 3 for 9 from the floor. For whatever reason, he was putting the ball down and trying to get in the lane. I don't understand it. He was a -10. He was a team worst -10. Whatever. When I watch him defensively, is he good defensively? No. But is he? I mean, dude, I watch
Kelly Oubre bad.
I watch Kelly Oubre play defense. He's fine. He's fine defensively. I don't know what's
they're not going to be a good defensive team. Like, that's the other thing, right? Like, they're not good defensively. Nick Batum is not saving the day defensively. Playing 32 minutes.
Picking up Dennis Smith Jr. 92 feet every possession isn't changing. I don't understand that, by the way. But hey, cool. Like, I don't know. But he was.
I think he just likes to do that, I guess. But I feel you. But, I don't know.
But I just don't get it, man. Like, 28 minutes for Buddy Hield, but 37 for Tobias, 36 for Lowry, and 32 for Nico Batum, 36 for Oubre. Again, that's not to take away what they did. Tobias Harris shot 50%. Yeah. Did we need more? Yeah, but he shot 50%, scored 18, had 9 boards, 4 assists. Kelly Oubre dropped the 30 ball, was actually a +3 in this game. Kyle Lowry was really good in this game. Cam Payne shot 50%. It's not to say these guys did not deserve to play that many minutes. Yeah. But how in the world is Buddy Hield playing almost 10 minutes less than some of these guys last night.
And taking left shots.
I'll repeat myself in a loss. This was not a win. You can gloss over the numbers and go, but you lost the game. So there's a reason for me to look at this and go, maybe Buddy Hield takes 3 more threes and plays in the fourth quarter. It's a tie game, or it's a different game down the stretch, man.
You're telling me.
Let me ask you this, bro. Nico Batum, we're talking about it. 1 for 6 from the floor, 0 for 3 from 3. What are you going to tell me? He was outstanding defensively? Yeah, he might be one of the only wings you had that can play defense. What you need more of last night, Scotty? Defense or offense? And that's not the crush with Nico Batum. Again, this is where I'm getting frustrated with.
When you lose a guy like Maxey, you think to replace him defensively? That doesn't make sense.
I'm not mad at Nico Batum. I'm not even so mad at Nick Nurse. It's going to be okay. I'm happy with this roster. I'm happy with this head coach when Joel Embiid and Maxey come back. But last night, what are we doing?
They gave that one away. That's where the angst comes from last night. Nick Nurse, whoever it was, they gave that win away last night. That was a win.
Look, Jeff Dalton Jr. gets 6 minutes of straight run, and he's running the point. He has the ball in his hands, running the offense.
And once again,
what are we doing?
I'm not gonna sit here and pound the table for Turk Smith.
No, but he can't play over Jeff Dalton Jr.
Is Dalton better than Turk Smith, who's been with the team all season? I know for a fact Turk Smith can shoot the ball better than Jeff Dalton.
But Scotty, also you have 3 guys in campaign, Kyle Lowry and Buddy Hield, who could all bring the ball up.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Jeff Dalton found himself with the ball in his hands every possession almost.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know. I don't get it. Bro, literally in the 6 minutes of play, the kid had 1 assist and 1 turnover, no other stat, didn't take a shot, and he was a -6. So you don't think you lost the game by 5? You played him for 6 minutes. You lost those minutes by 6 points. You don't think that had any effect? Meanwhile, Ricky Council Jr. is wasting away on the bench, not playing a singular minute.
And that's what I'm trying to say. And I think Twitter just makes it a really hard place to explain things because you just have limited amount of words.
That's what's funny, man. People are going to go on Twitter with fake names and fake Abbies and hide behind no picture. We're like, come on here, drop your comments. I'm not going to scream at you and take your head off. No. Just comment. Oh, do whatever you do. But no, they comment behind no pictures. And
I just like when I look at the spreadsheet here and I see Oubre 5 threes, Payne, Lowry 7 threes attempted.
Thank you.
I don't get it, man. 3 threes attempted. And part of it, that's why I said part of it is on Buddy because let it fly, man. Like you come down, like I saw Lowry, he was pulling from well beyond the 3-point line because he realizes you need 3-point attempts. You need to score the ball. So I think part of it is on Buddy to just let it fly, man. You get the opportunities that are going to be limited.
They need to figure.
But is he scared he's going to get benched? Like, is that part of it too?
That's my question, right? When it comes to this coaching staff and Buddy Hield, they need to figure it out because it seemed like the first 4, 5, 6 games here when the team was injured, Lowry wasn't playing yet, Melton and all was out.
Yeah.
And he was called upon to have the ball in his hands more. He was playmaking more. He was getting to the lane, jacking up threes, and it was great. Well, bro, there's no Joel Embiid, there's no DeAnthony Melton, and there's no Tyrese Maxey. Why are you being passed upon for the likes of Campaign and Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre? Like, I'm not quite understanding it. And again, I guess last night's not the night to bang the table when he shot 33% from the floor. He was a -10.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude got to the free throw line. He's 5 for 5 from the free throw line, and he drilled 2 out of 3 threes he took.
Yeah.
How are we not?
So I'm just, I'm curious. But it does seem like, man, and maybe it's Buddy's, lack of defensive prowess. I get it. Like, it feels like he has a short leash, man. It feels like he has a short leash.
Listen.
He missed that layup last night. He missed that layup when he drove the lane, and he did not come back in the game. Nick Batum replaced him, and he did not enter the game again.
Right, and that bothers me because I watched Kelly Oubre Jr. miss about 900 dunks this year. Sunday against the Mavericks, I watched Kyle Lowry, and again, Kyle Lowry's been fantastic. I'm not hating on Kyle Lowry at all. I watched Kyle Lowry short arm a walk-up layup and hit the side of the rim, and it goes the other way for a 3. So if there is a leash for some reason, maybe that was just a coincidence in timing. But if there is a leash for mistakes and missed shots or a bad defensive set by Buddy Hield, color me fucking confused, bro.
And I think I am like I think I am, knock on wood, whatever the case may be. I think I'm a little protective of Buddy Hield in a sense of I want him to want to be on this team for when Embiid is back. That is when you're going to see Buddy Hield. And I just want him to have fun. I want him to enjoy his time right now. Don't want him to get frustrated. Don't want him to get disgruntled. Don't want him to lose that confidence. I want him to build the confidence right now so that when Embiid returns, we see that thing full circle, man. And that's what worries me is like not only is his stats are obviously going down right now as he continues to play on the Sixers, slowly but surely. His shot attempts are going down. His involvement's going down. It feels like, what is this doing to his confidence? What does a contract extension look like? At first we were looking at what he was doing when he first came over. We're like, whoa, do what you need to bring this guy back. I wonder how much like politics are involved, from Daryl Morey down. You see the Tobias Harris tweets and the Batman signal out for him on a $37 million contract. You see Ricky Council stuck at the bottom of the bench, even though he contributed heavily and positively during the time when there was guys missing. You're still missing guys, so there is room for him, but he can't even get a minute. Jeff Doughton is touching the floor before Ricky Council. That's weird. I get they're two different positions. I get it's a guard and a forward. But are we really asking Doughton to be like point guard for our roster? Is that what we're doing?
In a way, you almost had more guards last night than you did forwards. As someone so kindly pointed out on Twitter, someone pointed out to you about Buddy Hield and Nico Batum playing because he's the only defensive forward that they really had last night. It's like, man, what are we doing? Again, I'm not here to crush the rest of the roster in defense of Buddy Hield. You shouldn't have to, drive someone down to build someone else up, right? Yeah. But you're going to sit here and tell me in a 5-point loss where they held the Nets to 112 points, we only scored 107, a game where you needed offense and shooting. You're going to tell me that Nico Batum's defense was so much more needed than Buddy Hield when Buddy Hield scored 11 more points in 4 less minutes. And I know, Nico Batum's not going to go out there and score 15 for you. It's not what he does. Hopefully he hits a couple corner threes, plays solid defense. He's a smart IQ guy. He's a perfect role player. He's a perfect leader for this team. 32 minutes in a loss. 28. I don't know.
You see them down 6 with, a little over a minute left in the game. Who's going to hit the threes? Nick Batum, Kelly Oubre, like who's hitting the shots with the lineup that he ran out there on the court? Like that's my thing. You get to the end of the game, that's where things get tight. You don't have a Tyrese Maxey. Who's going to make the shots? Who's going to shoot the ball? And that's what I think. It even got to a point where Kyle Lowry's like kind of stepping out of his game to create shots. And it's like, it just shouldn't come to that. Like we should have go-to plays for Buddy Hield. Like that's my thing. There should be a knockout play for Buddy Hield to get an open 3 in a big moment. And for some reason, it's just not.
I will throw this out there last before we move on. And again, it's going to sound incredibly weird because the dude was phenomenal last night. I praised him on the morning show yesterday. I have nothing but positive things to say about Kyle Lowry. He has way more left in the tank than I thought. That almost logo 3 last night at the end of shot clock after the tip ball was disgusting. I'm so happy he's here. I need a healthy team and a playoff run with his leadership out there. I'm hoping that the relationship between he and Nick Nurse, which is paying dividends at times, it's positive at times. I'm hoping this is not a trend of when the Sixers are fully healthy, what you're going to continue to see.
Yeah.
Does he have a lot more left in the tank? Yes. Is he able to play these minutes? Apparently so. And yes, are they injured? No Tyrese Maxey, no D'Anthony Melton. So he's needed more. I understand that. But I mean, Scotty, this dude's averaging like 37 minutes since he's come here.
You're going to run him into the ground?
We were the kind of and again, I know injuries play a major role in that. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
But like the idea of Kyle Lowry being bought out and coming to Philadelphia was, I don't know, be a leader that can play defense and knock down open threes in the playoffs and play, a handful of minutes, double 12 minutes a game, whatever. Yeah. Again, injuries play a factor. He's having to start, and he's been really good.
Yeah.
Is Kyle Lowry better? I can't get over the Buddy Hield thing. Is Kyle Lowry better than Buddy Hield? Like he's 8 minutes better than I don't understand it. I want to continue
on foul trouble too. Like Kyle Lowry was in foul trouble last night as well. I don't know. It is interesting. I just hope they do somehow get the Buddy Hield thing ironed out. That's something that is bothering me.
That's my point, man. Yeah. My point is when they get fully healthy at some point and Maxi's back and hopefully Melton's back and Embiid's here and we're making this postseason push. Again, I'm not saying I don't want to see Kyle Lowry on the floor, but when they're fully healthy and have all these position guys back, is Kyle Lowry going to phase out Buddy Hield somehow?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, is Kyle Lowry going to play 22 minutes and Buddy Hield plays 16 minutes? Like,
brother,
what are you doing?
Is the starting lineup like if and when Embiid comes back? Yeah. What's the starting lineup? Is it Kyle Lowry, Tyrese Maxey? Batum is going to start with Embiid. So Buddy Hield doesn't start? Right. Like. Or you go Maxey, Buddy Hield, Batum, Tobias, Embiid, and you bring Lowry off the bench. Like
which it should be.
That makes sense to me.
It should be.
It gives you more size. It gives you more shooting.
It breaks up your ball handlers in terms of Maxey and Lowry. You know what I mean? So and then off the bench you have Kelly, Lowry, Melton, Campaign, Rocco, Paul Reed. That's A-okay with me, man. Yeah. Like, let's get there. Let's get fully healthy. And again, I know we're playing hypotheticals. We have no idea what Nick Nurse's plan is. Maybe his plan right now is to keep Buddy's legs fresh for when Embiid comes back. Maybe that's what all this is about.
And maybe that is how they look at it. And that would be fair is when Embiid gets back, that's when we'll utilize Buddy to the fullest. And that's fair.
But you need to win games right now.
Yeah, you need to win games right now, and you have a guy that can contribute more than what he's contributing. And that's the big thing for me. I look back, at some of the games he played early on when he got here. I mean, he played 44 minutes against the Heat, had a great night there. There's been quite a few examples of him even being a playmaker with the ball in his hands. And that's what's confusing for me, not giving him more opportunity in that standpoint, especially when Tyrese Maxey's out of the game. He literally, it felt like the team would literally rather go to a Kelly Oubre campaign. Like, that's what it felt like. And once again, I don't know if that is Buddy Hield lack of aggressiveness versus Nick Nurse. And
I do have a question for you.
There's a balance there.
Because here's what it almost feels like to me, just watching the flow of this offense. And I said this to my sister and her boyfriend last night. Like, when the Sixers had like Kelly, Lowry, Campaign, Tobias, and Paul Reed on the floor together, it almost just felt like it feels like a lot of ISO ball in a sense. It feels like a lot of bucket getters that kind of want to put the ball on the floor and create. Yeah. And maybe that's not what Buddy is doing best. And maybe with no Maxey and Embiid, there's not a whole lot of the playbook being thrown out there, and there's not a whole bunch of offensive sets and all this stuff. So it's kind of like, you got the ball, you go, and that's what Tobias does, and that's what Kelly does, and Campaign likes to shoot it. So it's like he gets the ball, oh, it's camp time, it's going up. Maybe that, you know what I mean? So it just doesn't feel like a system for Buddy Hield right now, missing the two best players on the floor. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens tonight. I could very well put out an argument tomorrow that if you see something similar tonight and the Sixers even struggle. Like they beat the Grizzlies by 3 tonight, and Buddy Hield plays 26 minutes and isn't playing in the fourth quarter. I'm going to continue to have a problem, and we're going to continue to talk about it. But we'll see what they decide to do as we move along here down.
Kind of need to win this
March
game.
And April. No, you very much so need to win this game. We'll see. We will see.
I feel you, man. Last night, I was feeling so confident at the beginning of that game. I was like, man, they're really showing. They always start, and, Buddy Hield hits 2 threes at the beginning of the game. It feels like every game. and then it just slowly dies down. And man,
somehow, some way took fucking 3-pointers last night, but whatever.
Let's talk Phillies, man.
Yeah, let's change the tone of this show this morning, man. Let's talk some Phillies as we get in deeper into spring training. Opening day inches closer. What do we got? What's the 6th? Opening day is the 28th for the Titans. That Thursday. 22 days. Tomorrow is 3 weeks from the Phillies opening up their regular season at the bank against the Atlanta Braves. Cannot wait for the regular season. Cannot wait for that series, Scotty, to kick things off for us here with the Phillies. But you went on, you found some over-unders, some player projections, some team projections. So we're going to talk about it and have some fun with it on this show, man, because I'm sitting here and we had this conversation yesterday with the Zach Wheeler extension, with the rumors of Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery still floating out there. Obviously, I sent you an article shortly after the show of Bryce Harper, Todd Zalecky kind of putting it out there that Bryce Harper was talking confidently about the Zach Wheeler extension and then brought up Scott Boras and contract negotiations. And with those two still out there, maybe we have a shot at both. And listen, from what I've heard from reporters and people that follow the team and interviews and on social media, it doesn't seem like the Phillies have much interest in either. It doesn't seem like they're willing to give Snell even that shorter deal, and Montgomery's not willing to take a shorter deal. So it doesn't seem to fit right now. But when Bryce Harper has kind of named, when he's kind of finger pointed at somebody, John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski have 95% of the time gone out and done it. So we'll see what ends up happening. But throughout all these conversations, it's got me thinking about, with all this talent, who separates them?
Yeah.
Who is consistent enough, consistently dominant enough? Because I think that's the next step, man.
Yeah.
You and I kind of start the conversation here. We had this conversation before. I'll throw it to you, but like that next step for the Phillies, they've shown you over the last 2 years that the regular season doesn't all that much matter, right? Like you have you have an extra wild card spot. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Maybe even the time off that Atlanta's been getting hurts them. That was a huge conversation last year, right? So maybe you don't even want the 5 days off or whatever it is through wild card time. But it does feel like the next step is the Phillies being that dominant, talented regular season team that we all kind of expect them to be. They have a top 10 bullpen, even with losing some pieces. They report, some people rank them as a top 3, top 5 rotation in baseball. And we all absolutely know that they are damn sure a top 5, top 3, maybe top 2 lineup in baseball. They should be a, dare I say, 94, 95 plus win team. They won 90 last year. You won 90 last year with no Bryce Harper for a month and a half, with a slumping Trey Turner until about August.
Yeah.
With an up and down Nick Castellanos, with Ranger Suarez injuries. You won 90 last year. The next step to me has to be that team that is fighting at least with the Atlanta Braves for this NL East pennant and having some fun into September. And yeah, maybe they are that 5th seed. Maybe they are that first wild card, Scotty. But guess what? If they are, it's the last week of the season that it comes down to, because they and Atlanta are figuring out the standings. That's my next step for the Phillies.
Yeah, no, I actually love it. And I think that's a big thing. Like, not getting to August in the division's already decided, right? Like, competing with the Atlanta Braves. And we talked about this off the air before the show. It's more or less, it's not to say that the Phillies will or should be underdogs if they're that, that first wild card team in and the Atlanta Braves win the division again and they square off again. It's not to say that we should go into that series with lack of confidence. We've watched what they've been able to do, but there is that other side of the conversation. When are the Braves going to finally fulfill the fact that they've won the division?
Sustainability.
Put themselves in a better place than the Phillies coming out of the regular season. And at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, when that happens and that takes place the way it has, the Phillies are underdogs. When it comes to that series, the Phillies will be plus odds to win that series against the Braves. And that's the simple truth. If you're 18 games behind the Braves in the standings. They're 18-point favorites, 18-game favorites, excuse me, over you. They finished 18 games better than you. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what I agree. I think that is the next step. It's not to say you're going to go out here and you're going to beat the Braves out for the NL East.
No.
It's more or less to say that you're going to make them sweat down the stretch. And that's what the Phillies should be able to do. That's what I'm looking for. And I think that's where guys like, it's not even the Trey Turners. Obviously, Trey Turner having a great complete season, not coming off the World Baseball Classic. Bryce Harper having a non-injured season, right? A full season at first base. Like, having all of that stuff in place allows them to have better, more consistent seasons. But I do think it's within the margins as well, man, with guys like Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, these type of guys that have to step up and be more consistent within their roles as well. And I think the other side of that, I'm looking at like guys like Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm. Which one of you guys can really step up and enter the star level conversation, right? Like, not just that role player, that niche player for the Phillies in their lineup, but become that star player, maybe a Gold Glove outfielder in Bryson Stott. I'm looking for that type of uprising as well from one of those two players as well, man. Right. So I think all of that feeds into what we're looking for, which is a more consistent regular season Phillies team.
Absolutely. I would say this: sustainability.
Yeah.
How long is this plan, is this blueprint sustainable for? And it's not just a roadblock that is the Atlanta Braves. It's going to win 100+ games again. Yep. That's in your division. That keeps you from winning your division, right? But how many times are you going to squeak into a wild card? Now, they didn't squeak into a wild card. They were a top wild card seed last year. I know that. But the last 2 years, right? I think they locked up that wild card in with like a week and a half left.
Yeah.
2 years ago when they made a World Series run, they locked it up in the final series of the season. How many times are you going to lock up a wild card spot in the final week of the season, have to play a wild card series to advance, have to steal one of two in Atlanta or in LA, wherever you got to go again. You got to win one of two there to even feel good in a best of 5. Is that sustainable? I'm not saying it's not. You talked about it. Well, they're going to be plus odds. We haven't cared. They haven't cared. We shouldn't care that they're plus odds against the Atlanta Braves. We have their number. You're damn right we do. But is it sustainable?
Right.
That's not to say that if you win the division and you see Atlanta, you're going to win. But those first two are in the bank.
Yeah.
Where Atlanta don't want to play, and you don't have to worry about stealing one off a Strider or Fried in Atlanta to get that job done. And I think is that blueprint kind of sustainable, man? And I'll say this real quick. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
You go to the last 2 years of the Phillies. You go to the Diamondbacks last year. You go to the Rangers last year, who were a wild card. The last 2 years would kind of show you that, the regular season doesn't quite matter, and these wild card teams are making these runs, and it's a momentum month. We understand that. But sustainable. The Houston Astros have won multiple World Series. They've been in so many World Series, been in so many ALCSs. You know how many games they won 2 years ago when they beat us in the World Series? 106. Okay? The Atlanta Braves, for all that we mock them, we own them, they don't want to come to the bank, they're not built for this moment the last 2 years. The Atlanta Braves are a 100+ win team, always in the conversation, right? They actually have a World Series title just a few short years ago.
Yeah.
Sustainability. So, the last 2 years, jokes on them, we've gotten past them. But they're the 100+ win teams. They're going to be there every year. They're going to be in the conversation. The Phillies are in the conversation, but can you be that team in the regular season to show a different side of you? That's what I'm looking for, man.
Yeah,
it makes the regular season a lot more fun too. Like, don't get me wrong, we already have a lot of fun watching the Phillies every night. But wouldn't it mean more in August and September if they're fighting with Atlanta for the NL East?
Yeah.
And not just you're never going to catch Atlanta. Let's just focus
builds
on
momentum, man. Like, it builds momentum. No, I completely agree. And I think that's a great next step for this Phillies team. You want to prove that you're different, right? Like, I get it. We've had success the last 2 seasons. Obviously, the success is relative to that season. Like last year wasn't as successful as the year before. Still successful getting to the NLCS against the Diamondbacks. It was disappointing losing to a team that you're not supposed to, but how do you show that you're taking steps towards getting closer to the reward, the ultimate prize? And these are the only ways. Like, these are the only ways within the regular season that they can show that they're getting closer. Sure, they can just win 90, 91 games this season, and they can make the wild card. Sure, it can happen again. Like, they can go to Atlanta down, not favorites, go into Atlanta, steal one from. You can do it. Like, we've shown that we can. It's just like, why put yourself in the doghouse if you don't have to? If you have to, then Atlanta's just a better regular season team, and that's
what they've done to the Braves. What they've accomplished versus Atlanta the last 2 years is like a blessing and a curse, because it's like it makes you want, like, again, you win 90, 91 games. It's a lot of wins. It's a great season. You're the number one wild card spot. You host a wild card. You're going to be favored next year. I just don't know how many years you're going to get away with it.
Like, the Phillies are better than a team that can just like squeak in, just get a chance, get in, and you have a chance. Like, they're a better team than that.
Let me throw this one to you, right? Again, 6-7 more innings, one more game, one more start, trying to make all the difference in the world. But what's been a conversation around Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola the last 2 years? Work, arm fatigue, how much they've had to throw, right? Well, what's been a common theme the last 2 years, specifically the World Series year and then last year too, was like their first 2 starts each, dominant. No one's touching them. Phillies are undefeated in the postseason so far. And then, Nola's thrown over 200 innings on the year, and Wheeler's thrown about 187 innings on the year now. And then, in the World Series 2 years ago, Zach Wheeler's got arm fatigue in Game 6.
Yeah.
And the wheels start to fall off for Aaron Nola in San Diego or in Arizona last year. Now, what happens if they don't have to throw a wild card series? What happens if Zach Wheeler gets a couple extra days rest? Now, again, we've seen that bite the Atlanta Braves, right? That's been the topic of cut, but maybe that would benefit the Phillies. You know what I'm saying?
You get that home field advantage against the Braves in the second round. If it's the Braves again, right? Who knows? It's going to happen. Like it always does. It will happen. Right. If you get them in the second round, you have home field advantage. Is that not better? Is that not a better situation?
The crazy thing is, you're almost hoping for Atlanta, as crazy as that sounds. And we have to watch them play. They have to stay healthy. I'm hoping for Atlanta.
Yeah. If we can avoid the Dodgers until the NLCS,
and Freddie, dude. Like, so again, it's a long season. Injuries happen. Things happen. We'll see how things play out. The Dodgers have been loaded for years. They haven't won anything from it. The Braves have been loaded for the last 2 years. We beat them the last 2 years. Yeah. But we still have that ultimate goal to chase, and it's not becoming any easier. So I think the last 10 minutes or so, I think what we're trying to say is let's make it a little bit easier by being what you're supposed to be in the regular season. Be a better version of yourself, right? Yeah. And that's what we're looking for the Phillies. Scotty, how do they do that? You have some over-unders for some players.
Yes, sir.
What do you got?
Yes, sir. So let's just to start here, we were just talking about the NL East. I just want to give the odds for the Phillies to actually win the NL East. So Phillies are plus 310 to win the NL East. They are only behind the Atlanta Braves, of course, who are minus 240 to win the NL East there. Yeah, minus 240, man. Are they that much better than the Phillies? I mean, maybe.
That's crazy.
The over-under, let's start with win totals because you mentioned it there, and that's going to play a big part, obviously, in where they place in the NL going into the postseason. Over or under 90.5 wins. The over is plus 100. Yeah. The under is minus 120. So
this is something
that we're going to get under 91 wins.
This is something that you and I might have to squad ride through this regular season. Maybe
that's what I was wondering. That's what I was thinking
combo. Maybe we each throw in like $50 or $100 and combine our money here for this total, man, because they're going over. They're going over 90.5 wins, Scotty. Like we said, they got to 90. They got to 90 last year, ran away basically with that top wildcard spot down the stretch. And again, with everything that transpired last year, no Bryce Harper for the first month and a half of the season. All the Trey Turner issues, the Nick Castellanos slumps, the Ranger Suarez injuries, right? Michael Lorenzen had to start games for this team. Bullpen issues, right? This team is healthier heading into the season. Again, things can happen, but as of right now, this is what I have to judge them off of. They're healthier heading into the season. They're better heading into the season. And I'm right now buying a lot of stock into the fact that Dave Dombrowski is going to be a busy man at the trade deadline and propel this team to making a huge second half run. I think I'm going to say the Phillies get to 96 wins. We'll talk closer to the season as we give official predictions, but I'm going to say 96, 97 wins for the Phillies. So I'm taking the over 90.5. The fact that it's plus chicken, stop.
That's the crazy part to me. Like, if you give it to us at minus 110 each way, that seems a lot more fair, but plus 100 seems like a no-brainer. I do agree with you. I think they're going to be closer to that 95 win mark. I would go with the over here. And it is funny. I think it's worth mentioning. Just because they go over 91 wins doesn't mean they're going to win the NL East, obviously.
No, I mean,
that is the better bet there, obviously.
The Braves might win 110 games. I have no idea.
But 91 is not asking a lot of this Phillies team if they can stay healthy and do what they're supposed to do, compete at the level that they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
Let's go to a few player props here, man. So let's start with Bryce Harper. Obviously going to have a full season here at first base. He's coming into the season healthy. The home run over-under for Bryce Harper is set at 30.5, minus 110 either way. 30.5, so 31 home runs.
I mean, assuming that Bryce stays healthy, which is obviously the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
I have to say over, right?
He had 21 last year.
Right.
21 home runs last year. How many games did he play?
And that was with missing some time. And also, it took Bryce a minute to get his power back, man. If you recall, I know it seems like a while ago, but Bryce did not start putting stuff over the fence for a little period of time after coming back. I got to go over. I mean, for Christ's sake, I think. Let me see.
Played 126 games last year. Had 21 the year before that. He played. So are they counting on him missing games? Like, is that kind of what that is? Like built in? So,
yeah, I mean, he's kind of been back and forth his entire career. With in 2021, that the year he won the MVP, I believe.
Yeah, 35.
He hit 35. In 15, his first year here, he hit 35. But outside of those 2 years, there's been a COVID-shortened year, and he's missed time in the other two seasons, and he's missed that number. He's hit 42. He's hit 34 in Washington. I got to go with over, man. I think
he's
that Bryce
due
Harper,
for that.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, that's a great point. I think if you go back and look at his career trajectory and his career numbers, it's about that time that Bryce is back at that 34, 35 range.
And that's
I'm going to go.
What I was telling you before the show is it's like he's due not only for a bounce back in that department, but like just a healthy season. Like he's due for that alone, and if he gets that, I think he's going to get over that mark. Going over to RBIs. RBIs are set at 97.5 over or under minus 105. He had 72 RBIs last year in 126 games.
Yeah, no, that I'm shooting over. I mean, I think if you're going home runs over, if you follow the career path, the home runs go over, the RBIs are going over. Because why? Bryce Harper is much more than just a home run hitter throughout the regular season. So if he's going to get you 31, 32, 33 plus home runs, I mean, you're looking at over 50 RBIs, 60 RBIs at that point. And you just know Bryce Harper is going to come up in a lot of other situations this year in that 3-hole in the middle of this lineup with Trey Turner on base and guys on base. And he's going to drive in. Bryce Harper's going to drive in over 100 RBIs this year.
I like it. Yeah. I love these odds all around. Honestly, I feel like the books are Sleeping on the Phillies a little bit with some of these numbers, but maybe they know something that we don't. They usually do. Marshawn, just wanted to piggyback to this comment here. Friday we will be live. We'll talk some birds.
Football Friday, baby.
Talk some free agency stuff like that. Definitely talk maybe some more Jason Kelce, but more on the replacement side. But yeah, shout out to Hunter and Marshawn in the comments here. What's up, guys? Next one, let's go to Kyle Schwarber, the leadoff hitter here. Home runs over or under 39.5 home runs. It's at -110. He had 47 last year.
I don't know, man. I can't continue to say over on everything.
This one's tough, right? Because it's like he's almost due to have an under, right? Like,
yeah. And I mean, you're talking about a very controversial player right now, man, because once again, a Philly season's coming around and this conversation of who should be your leadoff hitter is up for debate again. If he's your leadoff hitter, and with the way they have built their outfield, he's going to be DHing 99% of the season probably. You almost have to assume it goes over. It's almost, put it this way. If Kyle Schwarber doesn't hit the over, Kyle Schwarber should not be batting leadoff for the Phillies. And I'm a believer that he should bat leadoff for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Because I mean, dude, you're going to add in the strikeouts. You're going to add in the average, and you're going to take all that. But the one thing that's countered it is the more pitches, the more at-bats, the power numbers. You take those away. Not saying that 38 home runs is not a ton. It's a shit ton. But you go from 49 and 47 down to under 40.
Yeah. It's a drop.
It's going to hurt your value in the leadoff spot, my man.
Yeah.
So, fuck it, man. I'm going over. He has to, he has to, for my sanity, that he should remain the leadoff hitter.
I feel that. And since he's gotten to the Phillies, since he's joined the Phillies in 2022, 46 home runs that year, 47 last year. So he's hit over that mark by, I would say, a significant margin in both the seasons that he's been here. And mind you, they're his highest home run totals of his career, both of them. So before joining the Phillies, his highest was back in 2019 with the Cubs when he had 38. So with the Phillies, he is averaging that over. So it is interesting. So that's Kyle Schwarber's over-under for home runs. Let's go to Trey Turner. He's another guy here that we got some props for. So I have home runs and I have stolen bases for Trey Turner. Which one do you want to do first?
Give me the bags, bro. Stolen bases.
Yeah, that's his thing. So over-under 27.5 stolen bags at -115. Last year, he had 30 stolen bases total. Yeah, it's kind of starting in a slump.
Yeah. We're hitting the over again, man. Might just have to
I think he's having a big season.
Single Philadelphia.
Trey's one of the guys I think is having a big season this year.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. He hit this over last year.
Yeah.
And to your point, for the first 4 months of the season, the dude was even struggling to get on base.
Yeah.
When he was getting on base in the first half of the year, he was like hesitant and shy and like nervous to make a mistake that he didn't want to get thrown out. And then he starts to hit his stride. He's stolen X amount of straight bases without being thrown out. Trey Turner is hitting this over this year. I'll tell you what, the Phillies need Trey Turner to hit the over this year if they want to be a productive offense and a productive lineup. Because let me tell you one thing that stolen bags will do from Trey Turner this year, Scotty, and a high number of them. It's going to make life easier for this offense.
Yeah.
What's the one thing we can't do this year? I know we're going to. I know it's a staple of what this team does. You cannot live and die by the long ball.
Yeah.
There's so many guys that can do it. They're great at it. It's why they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
But when it's not going well, like we've seen in the postseason at times, you need to find ways to manufacture runs to set yourselves up in position. Trey Turner, leadoff walk. Trey Turner, leadoff single. Guess what? In 2 or 3 pitches, Trey Turner's taking off and going to second base with 1 out or no outs and setting up Bryce Harper and the rest of this lineup to drive them in. That's what they need to do. That total might be the most ridiculous one so far.
I agree, man. I honestly do.
He hit it last year and was awful for 75% of the year and not getting on base a ton. So,
had the most strikeouts in his career last year too. Yeah. So Obviously, that plays a factor as well. One more with Trey Turner before we go over to the pitchers. Trey Turner home runs over or under 23.5 at -110. He had 26 home runs last year.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm going to take the under on this one. I hope not. I hope that
26 is the most he had in his career.
Yeah, I think if Trey can get you 20, 21 home runs, that's a successful season. Because I don't need Trey to focus on power. Don't worry. Don't get it twisted. It's great. It's great in the NLCS when he's taking Merrill Kelly deep on the second at bat of the night. But Trey Turner getting on base more, stealing more bags, shooting balls to the gap, down the third baseline for doubles. That's the Trey Turner that's more valuable to this team. The home runs will come. 2021, 22 home runs is a very good year for Trey Turner to have hitting bombs. I don't need to smash this over. I would like him to, but I mean, I've said over to every other single prop we've thrown my way so far. So I'll take the under on this one.
I do. I like the under on this one as well. I would like to see him do more on the bases. So obviously that would require a little bit less home runs, I would imagine as well. But I do think Trey is going to have a big season. And I think to your point, what we talked about earlier with just creating this sustainable product, creating a sustainable team. I think that's why I said Bryson Stott earlier, Alec Bohm. These aren't the most powerful guys. They do have some power, but just getting contact, getting on base and going from there, getting guys in scoring position to take advantage more of your power,
let me ask you
right?
a question before we get to the pitchers props that you have. And again, we have 3 weeks to talk about this. We're going to get a lot more into X factors and stuff. But you just mentioned a bunch of guys there. Who is the X factor? On any given night, it's going to be a different guy. In the playoffs, it can be different guys. But I'm talking, I think the theme of this segment has kind of been long-term regular season success, being that dominant team. And I think something's going to have to give there.
Yeah.
Something just screams Alec Bohm with what he's doing in spring training so far, shooting balls to the gap, hitting with power. At one point, he's hitting like 714 in the first couple of games he was playing. He's a difference maker, man. And I don't know where you slot him. I mean, he hit cleanup in the playoffs. I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think that's where he's meant to be. He's not hitting top 3. We already know that that's locked up. Is he most favorable in the 5, the 6, the 7? I don't know. But wherever Alec Bohm slots in this lineup, if Alec Bohm's hitting around 300 with gap power and hitting high and hitting 25 plus home runs, that's a fucking difference maker, dude.
Yeah. I agree with you, man. And I think when you think of X Factor, I take Trey Turner out because I think Trey Turner's closer to MVP caliber with the numbers.
I think Bryce and Trey are 2 different entities in this lineup.
Exactly. I think, and then you get to guys like Castellanos, right? And when you get to Castellanos or even like a JT Realmuto, are you expecting growth from them?
Right.
And I think that's the big question with them, which is what points me to guys like Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm. And there is where I would lean Alec Bohm's way with where he is. I think he's farther along as far as what he's going to be able to contribute to this team offensively. And I think an aggressive, confident Alec Bohm is the X factor this year, man, for a consistent, sustainable product. I do agree with you there.
I agree. And the other guy I'm looking at, man, is Johan Rojas. And it's just like, we already know what he is in the field. We already know what he can do on the base.
Anything at the plate.
Not just that. Yeah, it is that, right? If he can give you anything,
but if he can give you more,
he's an everyday player. But my point is, like, if he can grow into a guy, and what I mean by that is, like, you see all around the league, even on bad teams that no one pays attention to, there's a young kid that's just a stud, right? That came up, or whatever the case. You go back to that World Series year. Now Pena hit for more power. He's a bigger guy, but Jeremy Pena for the Astros.
Yeah.
Torched us.
Yeah.
Torched everybody in the playoffs.
Who was it? Marte? The Diamondback?
Like
Ketel Marte.
Corbin Carroll won Rookie of the Year, right? Like
Corbin Carroll, that's the guy. That's the reference. Yeah.
Can Johan Rojas be just like a stud? Now, again, you would say no, probably, because we've seen him hit against major leaguers already. And is he really going to take that much of a leap? But
you never know.
You never know.
How do you feel about the Christian Pache situation? So I know there's a lot of hype that's been built around him during spring training so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think again what he's done in spring training so far, I think he has to make the team. Obviously, there's that like final spot between like Pache, Jake Cave, and maybe even like Weston Wilson to see who makes that final bench spot. I think it has to be Pache. The growth at the plate in spring training, and even that you saw in the regular season last year.
Yeah,
he's younger, he's faster, he's more athletic, he's better in the field, he's got a better glove. Like he's everything Jake Cave isn't.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell me? Jake Cave hits for more pop. Okay, Jake Cave's not coming off the bench and just hitting dingers for this team all the time. So
exactly.
I don't care about that. Jake Cave's a lefty, Pache's a righty. Maybe that makes a difference in what they want to keep and don't keep. But I think Pache has to stay up on this team.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you there. That there is a point. Like I get, we're trying to win a championship, we're trying to win the World Series, get to the postseason, put ourselves in best position. But there is a point where you do have to take upside into account here, and that's a big thing with Pache and
like, listen, man, if you want a left-handed power hitter that's on the bench because you need a home run in the 9th inning or whatever the case may be, and you want to take Rojas out or whatever, just leave Derek Hall up to be the backup first baseman and emergency first baseman for Bryce. I don't need, like, I think having speed, man. Listen, you have a platoon and essentially in Marsh, Rojas, Merrifield, and Pache. All that speed that you can come off the bench and contact you can have coming off the bench that can steal bags if you need a run late for pinch runners. I value that so much more than Jake Cave maybe coming off the bench and popping a home run for this team. So, no,
I agree with you there. Let's just touch on Nola and Wheels really quick here. I got some strikeout numbers, so we'll do over under with strikeouts for each of these guys. For Nola, the over under is set at 195.5 at minus 110. Had 202 Ks last year. And then I'll just go ahead and give you Wheels numbers as well. Zach Wheeler over under 188.5 Ks at minus 110. He had 212 last year. So maybe you take a little bit off of Wheeler this season.
I think I have to go with Wheels here simply because, I mean, the disparity is the bridge. The gap is obviously a lot bigger from last year to this year. Both got paid. Both are ready to go. I think Zach Wheeler finds himself in the Cy Young conversation again.
I like
and potentially even wins one. And apparently he's added a new pitch to his repertoire that could help him get there. I mean, listen, Aaron Nola could strike out a shit ton. 196 is a lot, man. Like to get to that 200 mark again is a lot. Nola could get you to 192 and not hit that. Wheeler, I feel comfortable with at least getting to 190, and that would hit his over. So Nola, I'll go under. Wheeler, I'll go over.
I do like it. I like it. I just like the lower number for Wheeler at the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. So I do just have a few more odds here, just interesting odds to look at as we end the show here. So the Phillies have the 7th best odds to win the World Series, win the whole thing. They are at plus 1,500. They're behind the likes of the LA Dodgers, obviously, the Atlanta Braves, Houston Astros, New York Yankees, but then also the Baltimore Orioles and the Texas Rangers as well have better odds than the Phillies.
Well, I will tell you that the Phillies should have the 5th best odds. I will give you the Braves. I will give you the Dodgers. I'll give you the Rangers because they won it last year. And hell, I'll give you the Astros because they beat us 2 years ago and they're always going to be in the conversation. Baltimore Orioles should not already be ahead of the Phillies in terms of that projection. And are we joking with the fucking Yankees?
I knew you were going there.
Are we joking? Yanking my chain? I get it. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. It's fucking incredible. They're going to be a fun watch. Garrett Cole's probably the best pitcher in the world still. Are you kidding? The hell have the Yankees accomplished with all of this talent and everything they've had over the last couple of years, not even making the postseason half the time. And all of a sudden, Juan Soto's – you brought up a very interesting point, man. Don't get me wrong. Juan Soto is probably a top 5 player in the world today.
Yeah.
You add that to Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole. They're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. But Juan Soto did just go to San Diego.
Monster team there.
He was accompanied by Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and last year Fernando Tatis Jr. and all of this shit. Blake Snell won the Cy Young. They had brought in Yu Darvish before. All of this talent. And they've gone farther than the Yankees have. And you're going to tell me he's going to go to the Yankees with, Cole and Judge, but probably lesser talent all around than that.
Get them over the hump.
And that's what's going to put them in top 3 or 4 odds to win a World Series. You know what the Yankees are to me, Scotty? They're just a larger history Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And they've obviously won more recently than Dallas Cowboys.
They're more recent.
They've been more relevant. But what I mean by being the Dallas Cowboys they are that team that gets that blind faith each year,
every year
before the season starts, that they're going to be there and this is going to be their year. And just recently, no, it's not. Okay, it's okay to say that. Like, no, it's not. All right. So, I mean, I don't know.
I do.
I mean, dude, you have the Orioles inside the top 5. The Orioles and the Yankees are in the same division.
Yeah.
So, like, which is it?
And they're both ahead of the.
I mean, I get it. The Braves and the Phillies are too, but like, which one is it, man? Come on.
The Phillies are also plus 800 to win the NL, which is third best. So behind LA.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. I'm in such a weird position with the Phillies where I think they can. I firmly believe they can get the job done. You know, I've said for the last 2 years, and obviously you've added pieces to this, that I would take their lineup against anybody's on any day. I think Zach Wheeler is a top 3 pitcher in the world. I think Aaron Nola got paid and hopefully has a bounce back, whatever. But there's the mystique of like last year, if they beat the Diamondbacks,
what happens?
Would they have beaten the Rangers? You know what I mean? With the way the Rangers were playing last year, would they have beaten the Rangers? And like the year before that, we beat the big bad Braves. We beat the Padres. We got to the World Series. And we stole one and we had a 2-1 lead. And it still felt like that's the Astros. So like there's a weird part of, again, that's just from not winning in so long that it feels like, are we there? But we know they're there, but it's like, there's just like, if they played the Dodgers today in a 7-game series or a 5-game series to get to the NLCS, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be nervous as fuck. Like, do I think they could do it? Yeah, but like,
it's going to be hard as fuck.
You know what I mean? So,
like having to beat the Braves and then beat the Dodgers, right? Like
my point of like my anxiety here when it comes to thinking about that is what we're talking about with the regular season.
Yeah,
you do what I'm hoping you can do in the regular season, and that nervousness goes out the window.
Yeah.
The nervousness grows because of the inconsistency in the regular season and the blah, blah,
Seeing
blah.
The lows.
How do they do they match up versus that team? You go out and win 97 games and look as dominant as you should, and this person's doing this, and Harper's MVP, and it's like, fuck that. You can beat anybody in the world.
Yeah. Because the other side of that conversation is like, yes, of course, it's going to be a tough road if you have to go through the Braves and then go through the Dodgers.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing if the Braves have to go through the Phillies and then go through the Dodgers themselves. Yeah. It's the same exact path. So at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and do it. And I do agree. I think the thing with the Phillies, and it's something similar with the Eagles right now, we just don't know. But the Eagles got to the Super Bowl, right? And we got to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. We're thinking, they can get back, right? Like, we take the L. It sucks. It's horrible. But there's a dynasty brewing here. We have a perennial MVP candidate, Jalen Hurts, on our squad. We'll be here again 1 season later. Not so sure. Like, not saying that we won't, but not so sure that we will. And then the thing with the Phillies, I think where they could be in a similar boat is, do we look back at last year against the Diamondbacks and say, damn it, we threw that away. That was our best chance. We don't know right now. We don't know right now if that's the case. Marshawn. Hey, I'm the first to admit I get ahead of myself, man, with everything, right? I thought it whenever Nick Foles won the Super Bowl for the Eagles, Carson Wentz was going to be that dynasty leader when he came back healthy. That obviously never came to fruition. And it looks like the Chiefs are more of that dynasty rather now, anyways. But you just never know. And I think that's what sticks there in the back of your head is like that lack of confidence. Have we already been the best that we can be?
Well, exactly.
In this era?
And I think
another
point of the sustainability is like have the Phillies lucked out in a sense the last 2 years in that NLCS matchup. Now, granted, they lost this last one that they shouldn't have lost, but think about it. Like we're sitting here talking about
the Dodgers.
Yeah, like if you, and that's not even this Dodgers. Like if you had to play the Braves and Dodgers this year, 2 years ago. Now again, the Padres were loaded, but the Padres knocked out the Dodgers, who were the higher seed, who were the 1 seed in the NL that year. Last year, the Diamondbacks knock out the Dodgers. Like you haven't had that. You haven't, and again, you lost last year, but you haven't had that true gauntlet of what you have to get through. So let's confirm what I believe, and that you're just as good as any of those teams by doing so in the regular season. And maybe let's limit ourselves to not having to play an extra series before you even get to those guys. That's what I'm looking for as the regular season.
Basically, with the Padres that year, that first year they made the playoffs against the Padres in the NLCS. Basically, the Padres are the other version of the Phillies, right? They beat the Dodgers, the favorite, and they're the underdog playing the other underdog. And then the same thing last year, it happens. So the Phillies are kind of playing a team in a similar stance as themselves in a sense. They had the benefit of the doubt last year with the Diamondbacks' first time being there, but it's time for that's what it is. It's time for the Phillies to put themselves in with the juggernauts. With the Dodgers, with the Braves, it's time to put themselves
in literally. That's the thing. They already are. We know they're in that.
We have that confidence that they are.
In the postseason, they're there. But literally, statistically, record-wise, putting yourself up there. Like, I don't need another September on MLB Network for Mark DeRosa to come on and tell you why the Phillies are going to go on a magical ride. Why's it got to be a magical ride?
Magical, exactly.
Why can't it be what they're? Why can't it be what they are?
It's not magical if you do it 3 years in a row as well, right? Like it's building that sustainability, that consistency. That's the big thing. The theme of today's show, right, is building that sustainable model for the Phillies, man. And I think they have a great core in place to do so, man.
Oh, I can't fucking wait, man. This team is like, I know I just sounded like hesitant, but this team is so loaded. They're going to add at some point in this season. And you get Atlanta the first weekend of this season, man. Let's do it. We're a couple weeks away. We're going to be talking about it as we get closer. But guys, that is going to wrap up this Wednesday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. As always, if you're new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be interactive and comment throughout, make sure to smash that subscribe button here. It is the best spot to get your comments pulled up on the screen with your host. We will be back Friday talking Eagles and whatever else hits the waves, man. Turf Talk will also be coming your way soon. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Peace, everybody. Go Sixers tonight.